Hi there, Squarespace creators. Today I'll show you how to make small tweaks to the mobile version of the Squarespace site using custom CSS. Don't worry if you're not a coding expert. The code is simple and I'll walk you through step by step. If you can follow along, you can do this. I will show you how to target only the mobile view so your changes won't affect the desktop. Then I will walk you through the few common tweaks, including adjusting a font size just for the mobile view, centering and aligning buttons, updating a font size for individual text blocks. Let's get started. Navigate to area where you can insert custom CSS on Pages, scroll down to Website Tools and click Custom CSS. So the first and the most important thing for us to separate desktop from the mobile view is to scope our code only to the mobile. And this is the code that will help us. This line of code defines media queries. And it's used to apply specific styles only when the screen size is 640 pixel or smaller, which is typically the size of mobile devices like phones. Now, all the styles that we're going to be applying are going to be placed inside these brackets. I'm going to define a font size for H1 only for the mobile. Let's say we want it 20 pixels. H stands for the heading. 1, 2, 3, 4, it stands for the hierarchy of the content on a web page. Under the headings, we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and heading 4. And in our CSS, we're going to be using H1, H2, H3, and H4 to target each of these headings. This is an H1. And now the minute I switch to mobile view, you're going to see that our H1 is very small because we just defined it to be 20 pixels. We can also define it not only in pixels, but in rems. 1 pixel equals 1 screen pixel on the standard resolution screen, but that doesn't scale well based on different settings. But if we would use the rem sizing, which is based on a root element font size. For example, if our root font sizing and the root sizing you can find, navigate to site styles, and under the fonts here, this is our base size. So based on this base size, 1 rem is going to equal 16 pixels. Or if we enlarge this to 17, our 1 rem is going to be 17 pixels. We can assign a size, for example, 2 rem, which is 2 times our base size, which is 16 pixels. Or we can make it 0.6 rem, H1 to be 2 rem, or 2.3. Now, similarly, we can also adjust the sizing for H2, H3, and H4. This is our heading 3. Duplicate the font sizing equals 2.3 rem and paste it in heading 2 and in heading 3. And now we're just going to adjust it to be smaller because equally the heading 1 is the largest one on the website. Heading 2 is smaller, heading 3 even smaller, and heading 4 the smallest one from the headings. We should keep that hierarchy even on a mobile sizing. We can set it H2 to be 2 rem on mobile, and for H3 we can do 1.5. Looks great. And now we can also assign H4 to be 1.2. We can do the same for the paragraph. If we use P and then open the brackets, and now we can set the font sizing for our paragraph. This is our paragraph, but the style isn't reflecting for some reason. If that's happening to you, one of the things you can try is to override it by adding the word important like this. And now we can see that our paragraph size for the mobile view is set to 1.2 rem, or maybe just 1 rem is enough, maybe even smaller, 0.9. This is a way you can assign different font sizing to mobile view of your Squarespace website. Now let me show you how you can adjust an alignment of particular elements. For example, this H1 is currently aligned to the right, But let's say for the mobile view, I want it to be centered. I can add this code to our H1, make sure that it's inside this bracket. And let's say text align centered, and now the text has been centered. But it has been centered for all the H1 tags we used on a website. No matter what page I would go, for example, this is our client's page. You can see that this is aligned to the center, and if I try to align it to the right, this is not going to be reflected because we specified that we want H1 to be aligned to the center on mobile. But you don't want this to be aligned to the center, and this text should be aligned to the right or to the left, or whatever the case might be. And you only want this H1 on this particular page to be center aligned. In that case, you will need to install a Chrome extension. I already have it installed. The way it showcases is a bunch of different squares put together. This is our ID finder. I select this extension on our Squarespace website. It's going to show me a different IDs for different sections and pages. For example, this particular section has this ID, and this section has a different ID. And the IDs are a unique identification numbers that are unique to a particular section. So for example, this ID doesn't repeat anywhere else on a website. Same for this section. Going back to, if I want this H1 to be center aligned only on this particular page, I will use the ID finder to find the ID of this particular section. I'm going to select this ID. I'm going to paste it and open the curly brackets. And then I'm going to copy this code and insert it here and click Save. We have specified in our code that we want this code, which is we want the font size 2.3 rem and a text align to the center to be only for this section and only when it's a mobile view. That's the only case when this code is going to be applicable. If I navigate to our client's page, you're going to notice that our text, so this is H1, which is left aligned, and the font size is different. Even though this is H1 tag and we are looking at a mobile view, this code will not be applied because we wrap this code in a particular ID for a particular section where we applying this code to. We can use this ID finder to assign a particular values that we want to specific sections on our website. I'm going to give you another example. This is our heading 2. And let's try the mobile view. Only on this page, I want the heading 2 to be center aligned. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use this ID finder, and I'm going to select this section that I'm working with. And please note, if this is a code that has to be applied only for mobile, you want to make sure that everything is wrapped in this media query brackets. And the way you can see where it's ending is by clicking next to the curly bracket, and then wherever the other bracket is highlighted in green, that means this is where the bracket is ending. Paste this code from this ID, open the curly brackets, and I'm gonna specify that I want H2. I'm gonna open the curly brackets, and I would like text aligned to the center. And you see the code has been applied, and now it's aligned to the center. And just click Save. If I would duplicate this section exactly, and then let's preview the mobile view. This section, the H2 is aligned to the center, but as we scroll down, this section that we just duplicated, the code hasn't been applied because now if we inspect, the section ID has changed. This section, the one above, was ending 6086, and this one, if we copy, I'm just gonna paste it here to see. And this one is a completely different set of numbers and symbols that specify a unique ID for this section. Now I'm going to show you another CSS code that you can apply to center or left align different buttons. I'm going to add a button Firstly, there's two ways to display buttons. If I click this pencil icon and navigate to design, there is a fill and a fit. When you select fill, which we have currently, we can expand the button to take as much space as we want. And even if we change it to mobile view, we have the same flexibility, like we can extend the buttons as we wish, like that. But if we choose the design, set it to fit, you can see now we have to select the alignments, which we could center align, left or right align. If for this particular section, I selected the left align, I'm going to click save, and now I'm going to navigate to the mobile view. Our button is left align, and we cannot do anything about it, because if we change it to be center align, and then we switch back to desktop, the alignment of the button has also been changed to be center align, not the left align. But what I want to achieve is to have the button on a desktop to be right align, and when it's on a mobile, I want it to be center align. Let me show you how to implement that. I can implement this code to the entire website or to this particular section. In my case, I want to scope the code just for this particular section. I'm going to use this ID finder. I'm going to find ID and paste it in here, open the curly brackets. Then I'm going to select the code that is responsible for this button. If the button is left align, this is the code we will use, which is square block button container left. And you can find all of this code in the link below. We can use the same code as we used for our text, which is text align center, because it's not going to apply to our button. In this case, we have to use justify content center. So I'm going to paste this justify content center important and click save. And now if I switch to the desktop, you will see that our button is right align on the desktop, but on a mobile view, we have it center align. And if I duplicate this section again, click save, preview the mobile view, the code hasn't been applied to the second section, just to this one. Now, what if this button was aligned to the right on the desktop and we wanted center align on the mobile? You see our code isn't reflecting anymore, and it's because the identifier, like this one, has changed, and now instead of left, we actually have to use right because it's right aligned now. And the minute I change this to, I didn't change anything here because we are trying to achieve the same result. We want to justify content to the center, but it has been aligned. And that's it. Just a few lines of CSS can make a big difference. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more Squarespace tips just like this. And thank you for watching.